Good night and welcome to Mindful Live 411. I am your host, Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. Well, actually, I'm the co-host, but the host is about doing her thing as she usually does. It is currently 10:22. Yeah, a late one here on the 8th of the 7th in the beautiful Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. The place that is not a real place, apparently. But also, they say it's where God's abode is. Is it? A hurricane not too long passed us by. And, bro, I'm in Trinidad here. They're telling me hurricane watch. Alright, the clouds are getting dark and gloomy. The weather gets still. It feels a little eerie. 1 hour passed. A drizzle, I say, it's coming. The drizzle stopped. Storm passed. We got more rain in some weather system that got pulled out of Venezuela after the storm passed than from the storm itself. And Beryl did people really dirty out there. Beryl did people dirty. He now finishing up on his dirty work. Bye. We blessed. We can't fight that, We can't fight that. We blessed. So thank you for joining. Hit that like button, double tap the screen over there on TikTok if you're wondering how to hit the like button over there. You double tap the screen, it's a 2-tap. Pop. Faster than that. Pop. Real quick, and you can do it over and over and over again. Keep those likes pumping. Allow the algorithm, our artificial intelligence overlords to know that this is indeed some good stuff. And if you are viewing this on YouTube live, hit that like button. Or if you are viewing it on repeat on YouTube, do hit that like button, drop a comment, tell me what you think. This is recorded that you can go back and take a view over there on YouTube. Head over there, subscribe to Nathan Springer over there, and let's jump into some of the news for the evening. Our security forces, those in senior positions in our security forces, always arguing, but oh gosh. I have to give it to Mr. Hira. He's one that seems like, he tries to always stay above the fray a bit. Gavin here, he in the security expert business, but you don't see his name in the back. But oh gosh, right through so. Hey. Griffith fires back, slams dangerous infatuation. Former Commissioner of Police Gary Griffith said Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley has a dangerous infatuation with legal firearms. He was responding to statements made by Rowley yesterday during the sitting of the House. The Prime Minister had reiterated his concerns surrounding the issuance of legal firearms in this country, noting that an audit into the operations of the Strategic Services Agency had found that several members of the police service were involved in the lucrative business side of the acquisition and training of civilians, and this introduced several risks, including the manipulation of the process for personal gain, as well as serious matters of conflict of interest. In a direct response, Griffith, in an audio message, said that these were all allegations, and he challenged Rowley to speak with the same bravado outside of the privileges afforded to him via Parliament. And I kinda agree. From the moment I saw Dr. Rowley making this statement, I found it interesting that he made that statement in Parliament. Yeah. I found it interesting that he made that statement in Parliament. I mean, yes, Parliament is where you lay the reports that you get and all of that. So yeah, he got the report and he said it in Parliament. But when he was talking about such a nail-biting, salacious story, I mean, it wasn't at that level. But you all remember is Alain Toppin from Tobago, who came with this story about Dr. Rowley's father and some bacchanal from 5 centuries ago. You all remember that? And she came with it in Parliament. because in Parliament you could drop those bombs and people could say you're ridiculous, but they can't carry you to court. So it is interesting that he did make those statements in Parliament. And I kind of agree with Mr. Griffith for now. Here's the interesting thing. If, as it seems, it's just some weird infatuation the Prime Minister has against legal firearms, I'm curious to know why. As it stands, I kind of theorize that he may be, I've said this before, he may be of that kind of boomer Democrat ilk influenced by US politics. And in US politics, that side of the political divide is more anti-gun, and they don't like the idea of regular civilians by and large having weapons. And I don't know if that's just in his cultural zeitgeist, as it were. That's just what, he believes on default because of it, just that cultural influence. That's kind of where I'm leaning, because I don't understand what's the infatuation, as Griffith said. Now, if indeed the Prime Minister is slow rolling some massive investigation that is going to come out and reveal that indeed all of the gang killings of the last 5 years were fueled and supplied by legal firearms and arms and ammunition, well, that would be a massive bomb. But somehow it doesn't line up like that right now. It doesn't seem to line up like that. It doesn't seem like that's the direction this is all going to turn into. And I would like to know, because when the Prime Minister made the statement about crimes involving legal firearms, he said something interesting with that, at least in the article I read, where they were saying what he said. He spoke about murders, self-harm, and other crimes all coalesced into one. All coalesced into one. So, listen, if someone takes their legal firearm and hurts themselves, that's a bad thing. I don't want that to happen. But that's not in the same realm as if people are taking their legal firearms and selling them on the black market and going out there and doing hits. It's not the same thing. And to put all of those in the same category, to obscure it, is a dishonest thing to do. When people think about crimes committed with legal firearms, what they are thinking about are the crimes that bother us in Trinidad. If we're being honest, that's what they're thinking about. What is the Prime Minister's infatuation with the legal firearms? Because there really does seem to be some kind of infatuation. What is the information he has so much of that he cannot share with the public as it stands? Because so far the information he has shared still doesn't line up with the scariness he's talking about. Like, the scariness of the SSA, to me, is kind of the normal scariness of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. That's only scary to people like Dr. Rowley and other police officers, because now they feel vulnerable to the security services. Now it scares them because they know, wait, there was a crooked security service official right behind my back that could have harmed me. Oh no, and he feels scared about that now. But listen, we know that is the case all the time. Nothing in the SSA scares me more than I'm already worried about general crime in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm sorry, that's just the reality. Just a distraction from his business partner being charged by the police? No, I do not think that's a distraction from his business partner being charged by the police. I do not think so. Multiple things could be happening all on their own. He also noted that not once did the Prime Minister in his speech identify any suspect, despite the many allegations he made. Griffith said after 4 years of massive allegations, not one person has been charged. He can hide in Parliament, make statements and not name a single firearm dealer, not a single police officer, not a single firearm holder who he claimed acquired or used a weapon illegally. Now over 3,000 citizens of this country have been killed by firearms in the last decade under your leadership, Dr. Keith Rowley, and less than 5 were killed by legal firearms. Yet your major concern in Parliament is about legal firearms and not the 99.9% of murders committed with the use of illegal firearms. No, I don't, white leather. I find that to be a pertinent question. Money Tips 101 says, why are you not concerned about the 1% who's shipping guns into the country? Money Tips, it's not the 1% as we typically think about them. The gangsters are doing it themselves, along with the crooked men on the port and the crooked officers. They don't need a businessman to be their lorry boy to do that. Like, I hate that idea that, it's the 1%. There's zero proof we have of 1% doing it, and loads of proof of these ghetto youths doing it all on their own. But somehow we don't want to put the blame on the ghetto youths. It's not really the ghetto youths, innit? They are innocent victims of some mysterious 1% behind the curtain. These guys are doing it all on their own. And the boys on the port running forklifts into the sensors repeatedly. You all heard that one? And Mr. Imbert stood up with a straight face and said this in our nation's parliament. They are pallet scanners that don't work. Why? Well, they were easily damaged by errant forklift operators who ran into them repeatedly. What? Like, I'm not a heavy equipment operator, but I deal around people who they operate heavy equipment. As a forklift operator, you aren't allowed so many mistakes on the job. If you're in a private, wait, are we miking through over there? Good. We're miking through over there on YouTube. I see a problem with the mic though. Yeah, if you're a private forklift operator in a private company. Hey, Ronnie. But I disagree, white leather. Let me tell you why I disagree. I believe that the weapons are coming in for the most on the port. 1, because the gangsters said so. 2, because of the weapon types. And 3, they are arresting people in the United States shipping weapons to Trinidad and Tobago. They don't have to go through all this pirogue business and risk the high seas. No! A barrel coming in, you drive in and pick up your barrel of guns and go home. Easy. They don't even have scanners on the port. Oops, the forklift operator bunks it. Oops, he bunks it again. Oops, he bunks it again. 20 years this not working. 20 years. Oops. Right now the Coast Guard has 2 interceptors. Listen, I believe, generally, this is my belief. Opinion. I have no expert analysis to say this necessarily. But I believe this. Even if the security forces were able to stop all guns from entering Trinidad now, Trinidad is already overloaded with guns. These boys have guns to last them years. Well, y'all remember, I grew up in the 90s somewhat, you know. I remember back then a bit. Y'all remember, like, if you stumble across the rare footage of a shooting back in the 2000s or maybe in the 90s or something, you might have seen one gunman and the rest were just, they were just to make up the numbers. But only one man had a gun. And it was a po-po and it might have stuck on him. Now these fellas, 3 men go to shoot and the 3 men are armed with rifles. It's evident that, you know, they aren't struggling to get guns. Guns aren't a rarity in that community, you know. And you watch how much bullets they send out when they're doing their work. When they go to do their jobs. When they go to do their jobs, you watch how much they use. You see, evidently, these boys aren't worried about running out. These boys aren't worried about running out. They're going to land down there and let out 200 shots in the aims of taking out one man. And they're cool. And in that case, I really must ask, why would Dr. Rowley be so interested with illegal firearms? Like, what does he know that we don't? Is it not true? Is it not true that 99.9% of our murders are with illegal firearms? Then what's the obsession with illegal? I really don't get it. Someone would have to break that one down for me. Getting some problems with the camera over there on YouTube. But jumping into the next story. Bail bill passed, warning from Sunity as senators give support. The Bail Amendment Bill 2024 was passed in the Senate yesterday with unanimous support. A total of 30 members from the opposition, government and independent benches voted in favor of the legislation. So we get legislation, people. The bail bill pass. Y'all have high hopes that, you know, this is going to be the cure. This is going to solve it. Criminologists support bail bill, but criminologists have welcomed the passage of the Bail Amendment Bill 2024, but warned about placing people in the prison, the University of Criminality, for long periods of time where they can recruit gang members. The Express spoke to Dr. Randy Sipasad and Dorius Figuera on the passage of the bill and its impact on crime fighting in Trinidad and Tobago. The bill, which required a 3/5 majority, yada yada yada, it was passed. All right. So now, murder accused people, certain crimes, they aren't going to get bail so easily. They can't get it like that. All right. So then they end up inside of the jail. Where's this story? Let me see if I could jump to this story. I was going to do this story a little later, but it fits in so well right here. Rise of the resistance gang. Corrupt cops implicated. It was officially documented. This is an Express expose. They dive into it. It looked like Christmas lists woke them up and reminded them that their duty is also to do investigative pieces. No. That's only the host you are hearing there, Ronnie. That's the host. She's doing the most. Let's go to this. The resistance gang, regarded as one of the most vicious gangs, is examined in greater detail in this Express report. Dishonest police officers have facilitated the bloody reign of the resistance gang along the east-west corridor, where crimes such as murders, kidnappings, extortion, and robberies have been unleashed with impunity. Just by the way, Just by the way, police officers have unleashed this, one of the most violent of gangs, according to their own reports. But the worry is citizens and legal firearms still. Like for me, I would have been more excited if the Prime Minister, the way how he was focused on running down these legal firearms down every avenue, run down the police like that. If every time he spoke about legal firearms, he spoke about corrupt officers instead, and that was his main aim, anger the police union, those fellas who always jump up to talk about their corrupt colleagues, anger them, because we know if you talk about corrupt officers regularly, they're going to get angry. But okay, do that, because that's more of a problem, evidently, than the legal firearms. It's not the legal firearm owners running the resistance gang. It's fellas with illegal guns and the police. But anyway, we digress. An intelligence report seen by the Sunday Express prepared by the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service has pinned the gang's capacity to prosper criminally on the complicity of dishonest police officers. A police report has pinned the ability of the gang to gain in its criminal enterprise on corrupt officers. A police report did that, just by the way. This isn't hearsay on the road or rum shop talk. Police report. The resistance gang was founded by a man after he and another man had a falling out and he was kicked out of the group. The resistance gang leader then proceeded to form an alliance with a man in the Tunapuna area who is described in the report as one of his main lieutenants. They also stretched their control into the Five Rivers, Maraca, St. Joseph, and later St. Helena in Piaco. And bear in mind, the alleged leader of this resistance gang is in prison. So, how would the bail bill that keeps these guys in jail and doesn't allow them to access bail, how would that bail bill help crime if one of the country's most violent gangs is run from behind prison with the help of police officers? What's that going to do? What's the bail bill going to do then? Like, the reality is, maybe if you allowed bail on some of these guys, they may die faster outside. That's the reality. For some of the guys in violent lives, you give them no bail and put them in prison, you're basically giving them protection from where they could really run their enterprise. Some of these men never even see the leader, as senior members of the gang pass on instructions from him through a young lady who visits him often in prison. She is responsible for the finances and operations of the gang. They know all of this. In the report, they implicated a corporal from the Northern Division, I believe. They know all of this. And yet still the gang is there, running as normal. But the bail bill. And that's why, like, the bail bill, I don't know, what am I supposed to be excited about with the bail bill? The prisons are porous. The prisons aren't soundproof. voices escape the prison walls. Like, again, if Dr. Rowley, instead of speaking about legal firearms, like, listen, I am not a part of the most connected class, and I understand that legal firearms are generally something that plays in a connected class level, but I'm not even, sir, let that pass for now. Let that pass. Allow, if it is that Double G had some friends and he wanted them to be able to stunt with their gun, listen, I'm less worried about that. Focus on the corrupt prison officers. Get this young lady who carrying messages in and out to stop carrying messages in and out. Like, yeah, they spoke about that in the article, Money Tips. You all could dive into that Express article. They spoke about that pretty clearly, about the extortion that the vendors face. And listen, if a man is running a gang from in prison, he would obviously be extremely ruthless, because what does he have to lose? What are they going to do to him? Jail him? Like, this is the recipe for insanity, you know? An experienced criminal running the enterprise from behind bars with young hotheads on the loose outside who chained up and willing to do anything for him. That's the recipe for insanity. You know, Fire Flame, Dr. Rowley don't care because he knows he could hold a rally, bring down Sizzler to perform and get black people's votes. Fire Flame, in a race in Trinidad, one race out of the two main races votes militantly for one party and has always done it without fail. One race. One. So be careful the tone you try to put on that, because the reality points in an opposing direction than that. As I've said over and over, if you hate Dr. Rowley, you hate the PNM, the sticking point in Trinidad is the UNC and their faithful voters. That block of 16 seats that will never move, they could spit in their eye and it will never move. That's the problem in our country. Because all of those people who like the Sizzler concert, as you see, I'm telling you reality, Fire Flame. Dino reality. You're talking Nancy story. You're talking morning pan chat stupid talk. That's not reality. Fire Flame, you are incorrect. There's only one party with the safest base. One. It's not the PNM. It has been shown numerous times that nearly any other party formed on the landscape could pull away PNM voters. Has any successfully pulled away the UNC voters? And why do you think that is? Is it because the UNC is just so honest and honest of a party? Yeah, Teflon done kinda, but the PNM was the first political party in our independence. They have been in charge of the government for the longest time. Being in governance gives you power. That's what governance does. You mightn't like how people wield the power of governance, but being in governance gives you power. So if the PNM was in governance for the majority of the time, I mean, there's no surprise that the PNM has calcified themselves into positions of power and has made it that basically the positions of power in Trinidad and Tobago are shaped in a Balize shape. Because they were the people who created the positions. You understand what I mean? If they were the ones who created the positions, well, no surprise that it kind of has a lean in a certain direction. That's not necessarily saying much, but as I believe, analyzing the political landscape of Trinidad and Tobago, you want that change? Go for the safest block. If that safest block could somehow no longer be safe, we'd have change easily. The partnership won. The partnership won. Many of those voters were PNM voters. But Fire Flame, the PNM has lost all of those seats before. How many of the UNC safe seats have they lost? Fire Flame, I would really enjoy if you could join the discussion with me tonight. This discussion I'd like to have. Because it annoys me in Trinidad. It annoys me because I don't think it helps. It's ridiculous. It's foolish. Fire Flame, I noticed you ain't answering the questions I asked you. I noticed you aren't answering the questions I asked you. There are only 2 seats. The PNM have never lost. You could go through our electoral history and see it. What is that count for the UNC? Fire Flame. We don't have to emotionalize this, We don't have to wonder and figure. Hi, Lovey. We don't have to wonder and figure what is and what might be. We could look at the actual real statistics, the facts. So I stated the facts for you. You tell me. What's the otherwise? On the other side, what's the fact there? Tell the people hello. It's not actually the same, and that's what I see. Yeah, Teflon done. Time flying, eh? Time flying. But yeah, I find that kind of analysis, Fire Flame, I find it does injustice to Trinidad. Because when you're actually trying to solve things, you won't solve it because you misdiagnose the problems. As I've said before, the 2 parties are not race-based parties. One party is a race-based party. PNM may be more class-based. So, if you want to fight the PNM, probably one of the better opponents to the PNM would have been a Labour-related party, which was what the United Labour Front originally was. In the Labour versus the elites paradigm. That's what the fight against PNM was. Those elites on the east-west corridor that want to get all the high-paying government jobs and look down on us in the rural areas. And instead of us in the rural areas, the ULF left the us of the rural areas and turned to the us of the sugarcane and the rice fields and our forefathers, and did those dog whistles instead and went to a different us. So now the separation among the 2 parties are on 2 different planes. So the PNM could whine in the face of the lower class. But if you're a lower class black, you feel like the UNC doesn't speak for me. And it's that misdiagnosis that causes that. And it's why anytime the UNC could get someone inside their partnership that allows the lower class blacks to feel like, actually, they don't hate you, it's not a racist group here. This group would make them not hate you. The UNC wins anytime they get that flavor. Anytime. That's how the UNC wins. But they're unable to get it enough. Where in my analysis am I wrong, Fireflame? Can you point the factualities that are wrong there? We're talking facts, not feeling. And you might have to check in yourself why it is that I was trained with more of a hatred for PNM. Why I hate PNM so? I just hate them, boy. The tribalism. Push you on one side, group you up there, identify with this side, and spoil the politics for the whole country. So now we watching an election coming, and like what gonna happen? As long as Mrs. Prasad Bisasa stays there, I feel like without a doubt it's not even going to be much of a fight up of a PNM win. When has the UNC ever won an election by themselves? One time, and the government lasted what, a year, if so long? They don't win by themselves. And much less to win by themselves with a candidate that lost in a row repeatedly. How is that going to happen? But then, you and your misdiagnosis would say that it's because the PNM voters go in the Sizzler concert. And Labre, them like PNM so much because it is black people and black this, and that's why the black voting for the black. And you're misdiagnosing. That's not the plane that the parties are using. So you keep fighting on that plane and keep losing. Like, they will say this over and over and over, and watch Colm Imbert, Faris Al-Rawi, Stuart Young, all of them staring you in your eye. And that's the Black People Party, you know. There's a black versus Indian thing. Like, are you foolish? Are you blind? Are you hard of understanding? You can look and see this thing. Come now, man. Let me be real. You there, Fireflame? I hope we didn't chase off. Let's jump into this interesting one. Warner, I didn't seek help from anybody. I didn't seek help from anybody, Warner says. Fast tracking of FUL, blasting license for businessman. Tobago businessman Alan Warner said yesterday that he never asked anyone, including his friend Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, for any help obtaining a firearm user's license and blasting license for mining operations. And here's the thing. I might believe him. Because very often, at those levels, the questions aren't explicit. If you're in charge of the FULs, and I let you know, well, I apply to renew my FUL, but you know it's a fight up here, boy. You know where this go. And you're my good friend. Do I need to ask you something? Especially if we know that, you know, we are in positions here where, you know, there could be some public scrutiny on the questions. Let's, you know, let's not make it explicit. Let's not make it explicit. In a telephone interview with Sunday Express, Warner, 74, disclosed he applied for a firearm license after facing death on 2 occasions when he was robbed at gunpoint in Trinidad and also in Tobago. The Express reported yesterday that both Prime Minister Rowley and Energy Minister Stuart Young, in his former capacity as National Security Minister, had sent messages to former Police Commissioner Gary Griffith with respect to an FUL license and a blasting license for Warner. Both the Prime Minister and Young told the Express they did not ask the then top cop to fast-track Warner's application, but were merely inquiring after the licenses. Well, wide leather. So they asked Gary about that kind of stuff, and Gary said, listen, he did not say that he leaked those messages. Gary never said he leaked those messages, wide leather. So maybe it could have been somebody else hacked the man's phone and they sat on the messages. It's the substance of the messages one must focus on. Listen. Even in the times where I have my defenses for the good old Double G, there's no doubt that this man is a politician. What Double G is doing is playing politics. Yes, Mikhail Modesto, of course, our whistleblowers are protected. He's playing politics. And I mean, as a politician, I can't really be angry with him for playing politics. They all do it. All of them do it. All of them play politics. So that's kind of what he's doing here with the slow leak. And I find it real good for Dr. Rowley and them. I find it real good. Because you have no right to attempt to play higher than thou when those things are out there. And it's good that you went and tangled with the snake in the grass. It's good. So that you find out the snake will bite you. And I'm glad it did. So we all know that you were rolling around with snakes in the grass too. So when you stand on your podium and attempt to make yourself seem white and clean of any kind of accusations, well, funny, white leather, funny. And here's the kind of nonsense, Mr. Warner said he didn't ask about it. And the Prime Minister said they didn't fast track it. They were just inquiring. Listen, in nearly any job in Trinidad and Tobago, if you are a doubles vendor, you know doubles is one of my favorite examples. And the Parliament have an order of doubles coming in. 50 doubles have to come in for a certain time. And half hour before, the Prime Minister call and say, just making sure that those doubles will be sent over on time. Isn't he attempting to, make sure the process runs a certain way? Like, as the Prime Minister, if you call the Commissioner seeking an update on anything, aren't you pointing his attention towards that thing by default? What are we talking about here? It reminds me of the former commissioner last week who was like, he's being paid $800 an hour for consultancy. Wait, no. I have it wrong. Advice? No, it's consultancy. Consultancy. He's not an advisor, but he's a consultant. So when they asked him if he was being paid as an advisor last year, he said no, he's not employed by the police service, no, as an advisor. This year they found out indeed he's being paid $800 an hour, and they went back and asked him about it, and he was like, well, yeah, but you see, when you all ask me about advisor. I'm not an advisor, I am a consultant. See, I don't advise, I offer consultancy. I'm not a harlot. I'm a lady of the night. So, as the Prime Minister and Minister of National Security, we aren't checking up on these licenses to speed them up. No. Do you check up on all licenses by chance? Out of curiosity. If I make an application for a firearm license, can I have the Prime Minister give a ring-in to the Commissioner to, see how my process is going? Mrs. Bigot says, if Alan didn't ask, how did Dr. Rowley know there was something to inquire about after the fact? Well, you see, he didn't have to ask Mrs. Bigot. He could have, just informed. He didn't say, Kate, take care of my license for me, please. That's a request. He said, Kate, I applied for a license, and I find it taking a little long, boy. What do you have to say about TTPS introducing suggestion boxes? Listen. Tanti Earls. Tanti Earls is nearly seem like oh gosh, kind of thing. Well, Mrs. Bigot, don't you see that's where we all are in the realm of technicalities? The consultant who doesn't advise, those who check up but don't fast track, and those who might inform but not request. Words and meanings. There are nuances out there, There are nuanced meanings to these words out here. Erla, police want feedback from public. Tanti Erla. Customer service unit feedback bins/boxes will be placed in every police station across Trinidad and Tobago's police services 10 divisions. Commissioner of Police Earl Harewood Christopher said the boxes, Christopher, hey, the Harewood left? Since when? They changed that? The commissioner goes by only Christopher now? Let me look at people marriage business. Said the boxes will be used to gather real-time on-the-ground feedback from citizens, which can be analyzed and acted upon. Listen, the amount of problems I am seeing right here. For one, if you give Trinis the opportunity to anonymously tell the police whatever they want to tell them, that's going to be, you'd have to have filtered reading. You'd have to have filtered reading to go through that. Who is going to read all of this? You'll remember the police commissioner in one of her last court cases. She said part of the reason she couldn't see about the whole FUL business was she's a very busy woman. The role is engulfing her time. The police service is already stretched thin. Who is going to read Trini's cussing the police? Who is going to read through a couple hundred papers, and it will be handwritten? Listen. I think Cardell Drizzy says the consultant, hey, facts, boy. Facts. Factus. Facts. Factual. The consultant. But yeah, I feel these people never marked exam papers in their life before. Anybody out there marked exam papers? Reading 30 different handwritings could get a bit challenging. Can you imagine reading 300 different handwritings with all manner of varying levels of grammatical ability? and vocabulary ability and spelling ability. Bruv. Like, you know what would have made more sense? You have a person, a customer service rep, and you allow people to go and talk to them. That would make more. Here what you do. You get some patient ladies, and yes, I'm being sexist out here. You get some patient lady officers, not the hoggish ones, the patient ones, and you put them in customer service rep as customer service reps and allow them to take word of mouth feedback. That might have made more sense to me. At least they could communicate and ask the person what exactly you mean, break it down for me, what's the alright, and then they send the report in police language and police lingo in the police understanding back up to headquarters. That makes more sense, because how you going to tell me that they're going to read 300 different pieces of paper from Jack, Janice, Joyce, Jill, Navin, Rakesh, Bipat? How they doing all of this? I just have a feeling 99% aren't going to even be read. That's just my feeling. They aren't even going to read those. Well, that's the prerequisite for anybody getting into the police, into that customer service side of the police, of policing. They must pass a telephone interview. You must be able to call somebody and talk to them while they're cussing you and maintain a pleasant tone. Like that's your exam. And pay them a little more for the patience or something. But sort out the huggish people. Leave them. They're creating jobs. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know how they're gonna do this. Like, y'all, I hope it works out. I just don't know how they're going to. How are you going to do this? Hey, let me look to dive out. I have an early start tomorrow. People, that's all I have for now. It's not about what's in the box, but about creating the illusion of the police caring. Well, I don't know who you're going to create that illusion for, but those big blue boxes aren't going to make me feel the police care anymore. Just isn't. Alright, that's all I have for now, people. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. I am Nathan Springer. This has been the Mindful Live. I was missing for a while. Busy. But hopefully I'm back. And hopefully I will be back tomorrow evening. Do I have anything tomorrow evening? Yes, I should be here tomorrow evening around that 9:30. Just like the poll in the West. Oh, that peace poll in Diego Martin. Has it been working? Has it been, keeping the West Side cool and calm? Come to think about it, has a murder happened in Diego Martin since they put up the peace poll? Alright, people, I'm out. Stay good, stay blessed. You too, bro. As Chini Hotep, who is usually here, says, be mindful, not mindless. I'm out. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out. Bye.